Hello guys and welcome back to this channel. So yet again we started another week, and today the 714 method was very good, right? It was incredibly successful. I mean, we had a very successful trade today. At this point this strategy is unstoppable. So when you look at it, and sorry for this, you might not actually understand why my candlesticks looks like this, because I'm using Heikin Ashi, right? So that's why my candlesticks actually looks like this. But you can see that the trade was very successful, right? So we had the simplest trend within the 714 method. What is the simplest trend within the 714 method? The triangular trend, or the V trend, right? So how does the V trend works? So let me show you this. So this is how the triangle trend look like, right? And why it is the easiest trend that you can get within the 714 method. So obviously within the 714 method, or always, you can see that we mark our first level and our second level, right? This is the 714 method itself. Now, if price entered into this 714 method at this range, and we had a very nice push all the way up, we had a very nice push all the way up, just like this, that is an uptrend, right? But just as the 714 method is going to elapse, we had a very nice push down again, and price came all the way down to this same range right here, meaning we're having something that looks like this. And now you can see where the name comes from, right? The V trend, or the triangle trend, right? So this is what we are having, a very simple trend. What is this telling you? This is telling you that price is equal. Both sellers and buyers are equal, right? When price was going to start, it started around this range right here, which is 0, right? We push all the way up to this range, let's say 10. Around this range is 10. Price came all the way back down again to 0. What has it added? Absolutely nothing, right? So that's what I called a V trend, or a rectangle trend. It's just a form of consolidation. It means price is not going anywhere. Price is just at the same level. How do you trade this? Because that's the most important part. So let's look at it. Let's mark our levels again. A very simple thing, right? This is our levels, and price pushed all the way up and came all the way back down, right? How do we trade this? We mark this range, I've said it always, and we come and mark this level right here. If price breaks above here, we are entering into a buy, easy as that. If price breaks below this range right here, we are entering into a what? A sell, right? Easy as that. Very simple. This is what we do always. Now, this can be reversed, right? This can be reversed. What you are looking at inside this range can still be reversed. We can still have something that looks like this, and it will still work, right? We can still have something that looks like this, meaning price came down first before actually pushing all the way back to that same range. How do you trade this again? You do that same thing, mark here and mark below this range. If price breaks through this, we are entering into a buy, easy. If price breaks through this, we are entering into a sell, right? Simple as that. This is just the reason why I call it the triangle trend, right? Or the V trend, because it's the most easiest trend for you to trade within the 714 method. So let's go back to the chart and you see what actually happened. So when we get back to the chart, this was what we're having, right? A very simple trend. You can already see it within this zone right here, right? A very simple trend. So let's analyze it. Now, I know a lot of you guys don't actually use hiking Ashi, and most of you guys don't even know how to use it at all, right? So let's just try our best and change this to a normal candlesticks, so that we'll be able to analyze it, so that everybody will actually understand it very well, right? So when you look at this, this is our normal candlesticks. So this is the normal candlesticks. You can obviously see it, right? Very simple. Now with this, everybody actually knows it. So by the looks of this zone right here, you can already see something familiar, right? You can already see something familiar by the looks of this zone. I've taught it just right now. You can see something familiar, right? So let me just draw it right here, so that you actually see it side by side. So this is what I drew when I was teaching you about this. This is what I drew when I was talking about it. So when I was talking about it, this is what I drew, right? A very simple concept. So when price starts from this range, push all the way up, and later on comes all the way back into that same range, I call it a V trend, because that is a consolidation. Price is equal. Now with this knowledge, you can already see it's happening inside the zone right here. Easy as that, right? So when you look at it within the 714 method, you can see that we push all the way up, price came all the way back down to this same range again. So indirectly, we were having a what equal trend. So all you needed to do in order to enter into a trade based on this type of trend was just mark this high right here, and you obviously come and mark this low right here, right? Very, very simple. So that was just what you needed. You did not actually have to stress yourself that much. If price breaks through here, you enter into a sell. If price breaks through here, you enter into a buy, right? But I've told you guys, always try your best and analyze the trend. When you analyze it, you actually get a really good trade, right? So when you look at my trade, you realize that I was already in a trade around this level right here. So let me use something like this. So I was already in a trade around this level right here, this range right here. I was already in a trade, right? Why was I in a trade right there? So it was very, very simple. When you look closely, you realize that we're at this last high right here. A very nice high, right? So when price gets all the way back into that same high, we can see rejections happening. A very nice rejections. Obviously, you can see it's this massive candle right here, followed by another what bearish candle, meaning price is going into a downtrend. To me, that is my confirmation, or to me, that is my signal of a sell trend. So that is my signal of a sell trend. I enter into the trade without hesitating, right? Easy as that. So when you look closely at it, we realized that I was already in a trade after we broke through this range just right here. I got into my trade, right? Easy as that. But the 714 method, this is just what you needed. So let's look at the first candle after that. You can see that price came all the way down with a massive what bearish candle, right? So all you needed to do was to just enter into your trade right there without hesitation. I've always said it, enter into your trade. Simple as that. So where should you have kept your first and second TP? Or the most important part of trading, your stop loss. So obviously a lot of people could have kept their stop losses right here, right? But why was it wrong to put your stop loss right there? Because there was a massive fair value gap above here, and you already know what fair value gaps does, right? They pull in price. They are liquidity zones, right? So they pull price towards themselves. So all you needed to do was to just mark that fair value gap right there. So you could have just marked this fair value gap right here, and you try your best and enter into a smaller loss size because your stop loss is going to be huge. Your stop loss is supposed to be above the fair value gap. You're not supposed to put your stop loss below it because you know for sure that price can easily just push all the way back into this range right here, right? So you're supposed to do that. Now, your first TP and your second TP. So obviously, when you look at my trade, you realize that I actually kept my first and second TP below this level right here. Not this range, but this level right here. Why did I do that? Because there's something that we call inducement, right? When you look at this range, those were equal lows. And equal lows means that is an inducement zone. Price will likely just push through this range right here. Even if it's going to reverse, right, this range will pull price to it, so price can likely just push through this range right here even before reversing, right? Easy as that. So all you needed to do was just put your stop loss either on the inducement level or below it, right? You can equally just use it. You can see it, they are nice lows, so you can use it as your first TP, and you use this range right here as your second TP, right? Because you know price is now changing into a downtrend, so there's a likelihood that will take out this last low right here. Very, very simple. So that low could have been your second TP right there. So let's see how the trend actually went, because it was a very powerful yet very, very nice trend, right? So let's look at it. So obviously you can see that your first TP could have been hit instantly, right? Price came all the way through it because, yeah, of course, this is inducement zone, right? So there's a likelihood that price will sweep through it even before a reversal. So you can see that price swept through it. Very, very simple. And now we are having a reversal. Should you have kept your stop loss at break even after your first TP got hit, you would have gotten wiped out with this trend right here. But if you hadn't and your stop loss was still above here, you would have been saved, right? Very, very simple. So let's see what happened after that. Now, obviously, after this trend, you can see on my channel that I entered into another trade right here because I know price was just pushing all the way down. So after the 714 method, we entered into a couple of trades. Very, very simple. So that is just what you needed to do a very simple trade, right? A very, very simple trade. You don't have to stress yourself. When you look at it, it's just a very simple thing. Just understand it and you are good to go. So that was just it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.